I was born in 1944 in Los Angeles. The Second World War was starting to wind down. The St. Louis Cardinals baseball team won the World Series that year, playing their arch rivals, the St. Louis Browns. And my father had just come out of the armed services. Pastime, baseball. Hobby, movies. When I got married, after a few practice marriages, I knew I'd finally found the right person. If I had to just pick one person to go here, more than likely it would have, and was, Horowitz, the Schubert String Quintet. Bill Clinton. Live for the moment, prepare for the future. I don't like to, but I have to exercise. The ability to control 100 people at any given moment on stage. I wish that I would have invented the automobile, because right away I would make changes to it. Do I have to go to the bathroom or not? I don't like to drive fast, but I also don't like to drive slow. I wanted to be a railroad engineer. A 1986 Rioja Cecilia Vega. It's a good question, and if I said no, my wife would kill me. Am I too close to the car in front of me? I would have paid more attention to the world around me when I was a student. I was completely absorbed and immersed in the musical world to the exclusion of what was happening in the world. I try to keep my personal and professional lives very separate. Most people who don't know me are surprised at my sarcastic sense of humor, very dry, very Californian. I think there's a long way to go before I deem myself as being successful. I've been able to advance and promote certain musical causes, particularly among American composers, and education, audience development. So I guess the answer to that is that I'm more concerned about others than I am about myself, which I realize sounds self-serving, but it's really not. That's how I've always felt. If there was a magic formula for success, there would be more successful people. One was the first Brahms Serenade, which I did in St. Louis, just because it's not often played, and it featured my orchestra at a time when we were just at the top of our game. But the other was the magnum opus by William Balcom called The Songs of Innocence and Experience, just because there's no other work like it. The word classical almost implies that it will be around, that it's a classic. And I think, despite the fact that we undergo these constant reinventions, supposedly, of who we are and what we do, we have the backbone and the history of monumental works of art that will always live, and it's our job to keep them alive, whether we do that by conveying how they might have sounded, how they sound today, and how they might sound in the future. So I do remain very optimistic that in some fashion we will continue to have a body of work that is presented to and added to constantly.